welcome back to my channel. My name's Helen and today I am going to do the what makes you pick up a book tag. I was tagged by Mel from the channel A Book Fiend Named Mel, so I will link her channel below. There's 8 questions and it's basically about why you choose books. So I will get started. Sorry, can I just highlight this skirt? It's the first time wearing it. I got it from Everything £5 and how lovely is it? Beautiful. Just love the colours. I just thought I'd show it you anyway. So the first question in the tag is, do you judge a book by its cover? Yes, always. Before I even get to reading the synopsis on the back, when I walk into a shop or a library, the cover has to grab me first. Then I will lift it off the shelf and read the back of the book, and that will then decide if I carry on looking or whether I take that one. So yeah, always judge a book by its cover. I know they say you shouldn't, and probably because I do all these readathons now where certain books have to fit into certain letters or certain prompts, I probably am noticing that it's not actually a good idea to judge a book by its cover. So I am expanding, but mostly if I'm browsing, I am looking at cover first. Focusing just on the cover, what attracts you to pick it up? I picked some of the books that I looked through my TBR cart and looked and thought, which ones would make me pick them up. This lighting might be terrible. I might have to move around a little bit. And I will move a little bit. There you go. So I'll just show you some of them and you can see what I mean. So something with a funny title. So this one is Why Mummy Doesn't Give Her. This is a series of books. I think there's 4 or 5 of them. It's by Jill Sims. Basically ones like that. If there's a funny title, that will make me pick it up. I want to read the back and see what it's about. Also the colours, any bright colours like that. I tend to be block colours, I like block colours. But also on the other hand, something simple. So I saw this one in the works not long ago, Somewhere Close to Happy. It made me intrigued to think, why are they only somewhere close to happy? So it made me pick it up and have a look. I won this one in a Twitter competition, but this is the kind of one that I'd pick up in a shop. It says this is not a love story, and I'm like, I bet it is a love story, but it just looks interesting. I prefer ones without real people on the front. I like these cartoony type, I don't know what you call it, but cartoony type pictures where it's an illustration rather than an actual picture of a person. So yeah, an interesting font as well. Again, some that I picked recently, The Secrets of Sunshine. Love the cover. Love like the little pictures and things. I'm not a very flowery person, but I thought this was just simple enough to be nice, but it's a pretty cover. And then anything about books or reading. So this was While You Were Reading, and it looks like it's set in a bookshop, so I went for something like that. But I like something pretty simple, block colours, interesting font, and pastel colours as well. So yeah, those kind of things. So that's the kind that I like. Question 3. Do you read the synopsis first or prefer to go in without knowing anything about the book? I do prefer to read the synopsis first. Because I do suffer a lot with anxiety and I'm a mood reader, because of trigger warnings and things like that, quite often there'll be something in the synopsis that'll give you a hint if there's going to be something a bit, well, it's not always the case, and that's why a lot of booktubers try and give trigger warnings when they've read a book. But hopefully in the synopsis there'd be something in it that made me think, I don't quite think that's for me right now. So I do always read the synopsis first for that reason. I like to know what I'm going into. I'm not a big fan of horror, so if there was a book that didn't necessarily speak out that it was horror, if there was something on the back that seemed quite spooky and thrillerish and too much for me, that would stop me from picking up that book. So it is important for me to read the synopsis first. Question 4. Do you have any auto-buy authors whose books you will always buy even without knowing about them? No. Even if I've read books by an author that I really love, I will never take for granted that a new kind of, like if they wrote a series, yeah, if I saw the next in the series, I would pick that up straight away. But if they were going off into a new area of books, so if they wrote, I don't know, literary fiction and then they went into sci-fi or something like that, I wouldn't go, oh, it's by that author, I'll pick it up. I would again look at the cover, look at the synopsis, and then decide. Question 6. Do you ever read a book that has generally negative reviews just to form your own opinion? No. I don't pick up a book just because it's got negative reviews and think, oh, I'll make my own decision about that, which is basically what the question just was. But yeah, I wouldn't do that. But also, lots of negative reviews wouldn't put me off a book. If I want to read it, whether it's got negative reviews or not, I will read it and make up my own decision. But I wouldn't just pick it up because it's had lots of negative reviews. So yeah, that's that. Question 7. Do you ever buy a book just because another booktuber or book blogger has reviewed it or talked about it a lot? Not necessarily. However, I would never have read Frostheart 1 and 2 if I believe if Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin's channel had not suggested it. He talked about that a lot. He raved about it a lot. So when it came to things, to the first Believathon, and I was looking for something to read for that, actually I think that was a Greek book, wasn't it? And I thought, yeah, I am gonna give that a go. I am in a lot of monthly book clubs on Booktube and Twitter and things like that. So in that case, yeah, I would read them. So Middle Grade Monthly, Steph's Contemporary Book Club. Am I in any more? It's going to annoy me if I come off now and I remember that I'm in something else. They're the main two, Middle Grade Monthly and Steph's Contemporary Book Club. So if they suggested them through that, I'm going to pick them up because I want to join in the discussion. I also must say that Kelsey from Bookishly Nerdy, that's her channel name, she was the first one who I heard talk about The School for Good and Evil, and I tried the first one and loved it. So I kind of went off her suggestion for that. But it depends how somebody describes it. Sometimes it's not necessarily just because they've suggested it, it's how they describe it and what they've said about it that might entice you in. So Kelsey mentioned The School for Good and Evil. It sounded good from her recommendation of how she described it and the type of story it was, and that made me want to read it. The same with Frostheart. Maybe if somebody else had suggested it and didn't do it justice in the description like Gav did, then I wouldn't necessarily have picked it up. So I don't just look at someone and think they've suggested that, so I'll just go with it. There has to be a reason for it. So it's the way they've described it. Maybe if I've read something they've suggested before and liked it, it might make me a bit more inclined, but I'd still have to be into the type of story it is, or the author or something like that. Question number 8 and the final question. Is there anyone whose book recommendations you will generally always trust? Because I work in a library, I have colleagues who suggest books a lot of the time, just as I do when I'm in there. But my colleague Claire, we have quite similar taste. We like a lot of decluttering type books, books about the environment. She's recommended a few to me recently, like was it The Familiars and The Foundling? I think she suggested. I haven't read them yet, but because we like such similar books, it makes me want to consider it more, because I think if she's liked it, I probably will. The same as Nikki, who recently picked my books for Scrabble and Second Cousin TBR game. I've read quite a few books that she's mentioned, whether it be for middle grades like Believathon and things like that, and I have enjoyed the ones she's suggested. But I once heard her talking to her mum in the library about a book by a man called John Mars, and it was called The One, and it was about a online website, a dating website, but it was they took your blood, and it was based on your blood type, and somebody else's, whether you were matched or not. And the way she described it to her mum made me want to read it. So straight away I said to her, I'm sorry for eavesdropping, but can you tell me the name of that book? And then I've pretty much read every John Mars book after that. So if Nikki suggests something, I know I will probably like it. If Claire suggests something, I know I'll probably like it. For middle grade now, if Gavin suggests something, I know I'll probably like it. There's a lot of booktubers that I watch that we haven't got similar tastes at all. So it's not that I don't trust what they say, but because there's a lot of people I follow that like sci-fi and fantasy, and even though I don't like that, I love their videos or their TBR games, and I still like to watch. And it's not that I wouldn't trust what they say, but because I don't like those type of books, I wouldn't necessarily follow those recommendations, because I probably wouldn't pick those books up anyway. So I hope that makes sense. Well, when Mel suggested this video, she tagged quite a few people who I probably would have tagged anyway. But she also only tagged a few people because she realised that a lot of the people she follows have probably already done that tag. So, like I normally do, I'm not going to tag anybody in particular, but if you want to do this tag, consider yourself tagged from me. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of the kind of books that I would pick and why I would pick them. Um, yeah, and hopefully from my channel, I've described some books in a good enough way that it's encouraged some people to read those, and hopefully they can trust my recommendations again in future. But from what I've said, I wouldn't feel bad if people didn't do that, because there's lots of different reasons why people pick books. And like I said, mood reading's a big issue. Trigger warnings. If somebody recommends a book and then they mention a certain trigger warning and that's going to trigger you, you're never going to follow that recommendation because of that reason. So yeah, thank you for your time. If you've liked this, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you next time. Thanks, Mel. Bye. Sorry, guys, I missed a question off. I don't know how I did that. It was number 5. Are you more likely to pick up a book if it includes specific elements or themes? Yes. So anything about it, it tends to be at the time of my life I'm in and ones that apply to me. So at the minute, it's things about marriage because I'm married. It's things about parenting because I'm now a parent. So anything like that. I'm trying to think what else I said. Or anything about friendship as well. As you get older, I think you recognise how important your friendships are more and more. So anything about friendship. I recently read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and she has a chronic condition that spoke to me because I have got endometriosis, which is a chronic condition. So I think anything with a health issue in it, I feel like I can empathise more with that because some of the things they struggle with, whether it's constant pain or fatigue or things like that, I can empathise with because I too have experienced that. Um, so yeah, anything like that. But like I say, it appeals to me a lot of the time because I can associate with it. But also, I'm interested to hear about other people's lives and where they're from. So I try and really do a mix. Um, so yeah, there's the answer to that question, and I'm sorry I left it out. Bye.